Everyone, January 8th, 2020, to the next session of the tech course. So this time is going to be, we started last time, I'm in the Introduction to Startup Technology document. Everyone should be in that document. If you search for TK, you'll jump right to this spot. Last time we started doing the parts where you would do it yourself, right? So we laid some of the foundation, and then we started to have you do it yourself. So if you do get into this document and you click on that link, you'll see where everyone's files and folders are from last time. I'll give everyone a second to get there, but in there you should have the files that you created last time. So everyone has their folder. In there, everyone has their file, ideally. And so you should be able to open your copy of the Google Sheets file, and that's where you can do your work. And so what we'll do is we'll talk through two of the sheets, the monthly and the summary, to review some of the stuff last time. So we talked about the basis for everything, having one source of truth and all the data flow from there. So what we're looking at right now is two of the examples of the views of the data. In this case, it's the monthly and the summary views. We'll do those two of them today, view monthly and view summary. So tell me, is anyone not ready to go to start creating their own monthly view of the data? Anyone not have their own file open? Okay, we'll give her.
Supposed to be in our own file?
Yep, everyone should have their own, in their own folder, in their own file. They should open their own version. And then you should see the same thing I see in terms of the master table database and lookup. We did those two last time.
Yes.
And if you need to, you can always go and create another copy of the one we had.
Why would you want to do that?
If you can't find your last week's version. But ideally, you have your own version right there, and you have the work we did last time, which is the first two sheets. Anyone not have those first two sheets? Everyone good? Anyone not good? Okay, I'm going to keep going, but if someone needs me to slow down, just tell me. So here we go. So we're going to create this monthly view this time. So what you can do actually is you maybe also open my version. So if you go back to the Sheets folder.
Go to Sheets.
Yep, so just go back, click back on the link from here, click back on the Everyone's File is Here link. And then if you click on this top right here, you see the whole nav right from where we are. We're in 0G, or we probably all can't see all of these things, but we're in Introduction 02, 01. If you click on 01 Sheets, you'll then see all this stuff, which people like to make a mess of my folders, and that's okay. Google Sheets Demo, open that one too so you have them side by side. That's the one I'm in. And then you have your own version.
Copy of Google Sheets Demo, that one?
No, it shouldn't say copy. It should just say Google Sheets Demo at the bottom. All those copies I will get rid of later, but it should just be my version at the bottom. Okay.
Top here, January 7th, 2020?
Yes. Called just Google Sheets Demo. Okay. So now you should have these two tabs open, or these two spreadsheets open.
This is what came up under Google Sheets Demo. They're not in details.
You clicked on this one, the one with the spreadsheet symbol, not the form symbol.
I have that one, but I don't.
Yes, sorry, my bad.
I don't have I have that one.
We had someone's come up with the form, so make sure when you're clicking on this, you're clicking on the Google Sheet, not the Google form. It should be the Google Sheet version.
Right, I have that and under mine, but I don't have this where you have this like red stuff.
It's another sheet in the page.
Okay, so
Another page in the sheet.
we're gonna take we're getting a few questions for the video, people at home. We're gonna keep moving, but I think that there's some confusion that we will get clarified in a second. So right now you should have two files open, my version and your version. I just have my version because I only have one version. In my version, you should have all these sheets. In yours, you should have just the first couple. What we're going to do now in yours is create the view monthly. So create a new sheet in yours so you have a blank view monthly sheet. So you just do the plus sign, double click on the bottom, and do view monthly like that.
If I have it already, I'll just call it something else.
Just call it view monthly too.
You can call it anything you want to call it.
Well, special view.
So from there, we're going to create this, and we're going to start putting all the formulas in. So the goal is that we want to have something like this, which has these columns. It's a monthly view. So here's the end of each month. So it's month ending. First row is just a placeholder because we need this date for formulas. After that, this is the month ending in January, month ending in February, month ending in March. So it's January, February, March, April, and so on. So that's the point of this view. It's the monthly view of the data. So to keep this simple, and this is why we have the other sheet open, for now, I would just grab the text up top from mine and just copy and paste it over so you don't have to retype it all. So Command C, and we talked about last time, Command Shift V or Command V. In this case, you can do Command V because you do want to bring the formatting, but it's up to you. You could also do Command Shift V and it would look like that.
Sorry, how did you create those separate tabs?
So the plus sign right here is for a new sheet. It may have, yeah, it may not be in your view. You may have to scroll it may scroll to different places. Yep. So after you press plus, a new sheet will appear. You'll rename it, and it does. The sheet will go to. It'll go, I think, to the sheet after the sheet you have live. So it may disappear to somewhere, but it will be called sheet with a number afterwards. Sheet 13. There's an example. Okay. So again, easy. Just grab the headers, move them over. As we talked about, you want to make it somewhat manageable. In this case, you can see it's bold right here, which just shows that that's where I have the rows frozen. So let's do that. Let's make it view, freeze, one row. So now when we scroll down, the top row does not scroll. You see the row numbers scroll, but the top row does not scroll.
Slow.
So if we had a number here in 4,
It's confusing me. Let me just.
so if you're in your sheet, you go to view, freeze, one row, view, freeze, one row.
Got it.
You'll see this line below the first row will turn darker gray. Now if you put anything in the below text, that'll scroll, right? 4, 2. These will scroll as you scroll, but the top row will not. So again, just good for viewing. Nice and simple. Okay, so now the goal is to create this chart. So let's just start. So we're going to type that 1231 in cell A1, 123119. Yours should look exactly like mine, including with the year showing so we can see, because the year just turned over. In Google Sheets, if you create a date in a certain year, it will assume that year. So if you type 1231, it will assume 12/31/2020 right now. On the last day of December in 2019, it was the last day it did that. On January 1st, it flipped. So if I had written 12/31,
That's not wrong.
it's not 12, 12/31, and you see if I mouse over, see it says 2020 here. And so that's why you have to be careful with formatting. But if you do format it, format number, you have all these different format options. You can do either this for the fully 4-year, or you can do this for the 2-year. You'll see it's different, right? So it's something to be aware of. Everyone have their sheet looking like that? So here we go. So now we're to fill down quickly. So we're not going to type all these. We talked last time about a little bit of the date math. We're going to put a formula here that's just going to insert the date of the end of the following month. It's called the EOM, end of month formula. So I'm going to type equals, EO, and you'll see I start getting this cheat screen pops up, EO month. You can finish typing, you can just press tab or enter. I'm going to press tab. And now I have my cheat formula. EO month start date. So for the start date, I'm going to click on the cell above because I want to start there. So you'll see now it says EO month, open parentheses, A2. It says it down here where I'm typing, end up top, comma. And this is how many months I want it to jump forward. It could be 0. It would then return 12/31/19. In this case, right, I want it to be 1 because I want to move 1 month forward. 1, enter. And there's 1/31/2020.
You don't do end of parentheses.
It knows. You just press enter and it knows.
Boom.
You don't have to close the parentheses was the question. You can just do enter and it knows. So now you click on the cell. You see EO month, A2, this cell, 1, add 1 month, and give me the last day of the month. So the magic of this is that even if the month has 28 or 29 or 30 days, it will still know. So now the two options are grab this corner with your mouse and drag it down is one option. The other option, as we talked about last time, you can hold shift, arrow down, and highlight the number of rows you want to go down to. In this case, I'll do 13,
Do you
actually
start
14.
on the cell that has text in it?
You want to be on the cell, go to the cell that you want to drag down. and then you highlight the number of rows you want to drag down to. So I want to go from row, really it's 3 to 14. Yeah, 3 to 14. And then I'll just do Command D. So it's Shift, arrow down, don't let go of Shift, then you can let go of everything. Then it's Command D to fill down. So you're filling the formula down.
Cool.
Does that all make sense?
But
Good.
highlighting it and dragging it down with the cursor is the same as the shift.
Right, so the question was about other ways to do it. If you're on a cell and you see that little block down there, if you drag that down, it would do the same thing. If I drag it down right now, it'll just overwrite and do the same thing. And if you look over the cells, you can see as you mouse over, it's the same formula. All that's changing is that first entry in the formula. So when I'm in row 6, I'm grabbing end of month cell A5. In row 7, I'm grabbing end of month A6. It did that because, as we talked about last time, these are relative references, right? If I had made this dollar signs here and dragged it down, they wouldn't have changed. It'd all be A2, right? These are relative references, so when I drag it down, the spreadsheet knows to adapt the formula to the next row. So just a powerful tool.
Are there 29 days in February this year?
Yes.
Year.
It's a leap year.
The question was, are there 29 days in February this year? The answer is the spreadsheet knows all, so of course there are. And at the bottom, I'm just going to write total for now in case we want to do any totals. So I'll write total. I'll bold it. I personally like to center it, so I'll do center, and there we're good. So that's it. So now we go back to a monthly view, starting to look like it's looking over there. Okay, so as the next step, so the formulas are going to start getting a little more complicated, as you can see here.
Right.
But we talked about sum ifs last time. It's summing a certain data set based on certain criteria. So in this case, while that looks a little bit complicated, it'll make sense in a second. But we're summing the master database, column H. And these are absolute references because no matter where this formula is, we want to sum the same section. It's column H in those rows. And then it's just saying if column F is less than or equal to A3, which is the dates. So now in this case, it's looking at this date and saying, is the date greater than this? And is the date less than or equal to this? If so, sum it. Right? So you'll see less than or equal to A3, so is it less than or equal to January 31st, 2020? And is this same column greater than A2? Right? And it's less than or equals because this is the last day of the month, so it should include that date. But it's greater than this one because it should not include that date. Make sense so far? Okay, so we're going to type this one in ourselves. So we're going to go right to where we want to go. So sometimes you could, if you wanted to, you could gray this out or something just for ease of reference and so you know what's happening there, but we're not going to use that row because we're not doing that one. So here we go, we're going to type equals. Sum ifs with an S because we have multiple criteria. You can do sum if you just want one criteria, we're going to do multiple. So SUMIFS, and there's the cheat. Sum ifs. And then you can press enter or tab.
Sorry, otherwise is there a sum if?
Yep, there's a sum if too for just a single criteria.
What did you say?
And then you can press enter or tab, and the cheat thing will come up, or you can click on it too. But you'll now see, it will walk you through, and I've mentioned this before, it's not always the simplest instructions here, so I wouldn't rely on it too much. You may need to Google and just type sum if, how to do a sum if, you'll get some really good instructions from the internet. That works fine also. But sometimes you may just forget. You may become good at this and just forget, oh, which one goes where. This can be good for that. So here we go. So sum ifs, this is the sum range, right? So sum range is the range to sum. So I'm going to go and grab the range to sum, which is I'm going to click around on my document. I'm just going to click to the master spreadsheet.
We should be doing this?
Yeah. You should all be following along at home. And now your screen should look like mine. You should show, so the spreadsheet knows that I'm in the sum ifs formula. I'm just going to go grab the range I'm looking for. So right now I'm going to start clicking. I'm going to click here because this is what we want. I want to sum the revenue. And now I'm going to use the trick we said last time with the shift, command, arrow stuff. So I'm going to go to the top cell in the row, H2. I'm going to hold shift, command, and then press arrow down once, and I will get this selection I want. And then you can let go of everything, you'll have that selected. If you wanted to, you can keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push down shift command again. I'm going to press arrow down again. The reason I'm going to do that is that if next time, if I add rows to this, or if I import a new data set, this formula will now still work next time because it's going all the way to the bottom of the sheet, right? So it's a nice way to do it. So I've got that, right? So I'm going to press comma, and it goes on to the next one. Now I'm going to get the criteria range. So I'm going to again just arrow myself around. So we want the dates. So where's the dates? There it is, column F, right? So same thing. I'm going to now go arrow down, cell F2, shift command arrow down once to get to the bottom, twice to get to the last row. And so again, you see it happening for you. You see both the sum thing we want to sum and the criteria. Anyone's screen not look like mine? We'll give everyone a second to catch up. And these are tricks. So with the mouse, you could scroll all the way down, but you see how fast it is to just use Shift Control or Shift Command arrow in different directions. In no time, we had those two things selected. Anyone need more time?
Me.
Someone needs more time?
Won't name names.
We will not name names. Good. Thank you for that commentary.
You can go, it's fine.
Okay, I'm going to go slow, but people can catch up. So now, when your screen looks like this, the next step, I'll press comma again when I'm done with that one. And so now this gets a little more complicated, and this does take some learning. One way to do this is, you see here the example, open quote, greater than symbol, 20, close quote. So that's saying greater than 20. Our case is a little more complicated because we have a variable here, not the 20. Okay? And I'll go through this again in a second for anyone who fell behind. So always you open parentheses. In this case, we're going to say greater than,
You mean
open quote, greater than, close quote. The reason I'm closing the quote is that if you have an absolute number, an actual number, you would just type the number in the parentheses. If you need a cell reference, that should not be in parentheses, because parentheses is it's a piece, it's saying it's text. This is not text. This is a cell reference. Those are different things, right? A piece of text is just 20, hat, car. It's words, it's numbers. A cell reference is something that the spreadsheet needs to know. This is a cell reference. It's not A7, it's cell reference A7. So to connect those, I'll then just type ampersand to tell it attach to the greater than sign a cell reference. And so now I'm going to go back to my view monthly, and in this case I did greater than, I'm going to click on that cell, because that's what I wanted. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm now going to press enter, and that one, the first part is done. So now that formula is going to be,
So we can press enter.
yeah, you can press enter for now.
It's on the wrong way.
And you can then form it as $sign. Will everyone catch up? So I'm going to walk through that again. Ready? So what I did just now, and also I'll do the whole thing again in the next cell, and we'll do it together one more time. Just to walk through this quick version, I went through, I grabbed the column we want summed, I grabbed the column we want referenced, and I said is greater than A2. So this one is every dollar greater than this. It's not limited to January yet, it's every dollar more than December. So now we're going to do the next one, we're going to do it right this time. Yes, questions?
I got an error message.
Okay, let me see a screen.
Like I mean, I tried.
Okay, so when everyone's doing it, first of all, they should be in, so a couple common errors that people may make, ready? And we'll do this again.
Do I delete this or we're just gonna?
Everyone can, if you have an error, just delete it, and we'll do it again together right now. But a couple common errors that can happen. Ready? Number one is, when you are selecting the data, you've got to select only the numbers, not the headers. So your cell should say H2 to the end and F2 to the end. Okay? That's one potential error.
Is that the error I had?
That is one of the errors that one of the people in the class had. And that person is this person. So it should say H2. It should not be the headers because it cannot sum a header. We talked about data structures. It can't add math to text. You can't add hat to 7. So if you have H1 here or F1 here, it will break because you can't add. The other thing is that these two ranges, the range for the sum and the range for the criteria, have to be the same. So if you have a 2 here, there should be a 2 there. If you have a 2579 here, you should have 2579 there. Those are two common errors that happen.
What happens if they're different?
You'll get an error. It won't work. If they're different, it won't work.
So you need any column that just has to match?
So the ranges have to match, but you can have any criteria here that you want. Any criteria as the second criteria. So let's do this one more time together. So I'm going to leave my first row there if you wanted to. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to type in the second row, equals again, sum ifs again. Okay, we're going to do the same process. Equals sum ifs. open parentheses, and I get my little cheat screen.
And then go to master.
And then I'm going to scroll to the bottom. I'm going to go to my table. And so if you remember, the first one I want is the revenue. So I go to cell H2, Shift, Command, arrow down twice,
Slow down.
and I have my hands off my keyboard. Shift, Command, arrow down twice from H2. Anyone have questions about what's happening there or how that's working? Command takes you to the end of the data, then to the end of the sheet. Shift highlights it all. So you could command without the shift, which would just move the cursor to those things but not select everything. Shift highlights it all. Who's having problems?
I just need a minute.
You go back.
Yep. Do you know what your problem is?
I just think you're going too fast. And so
Okay.
I'm following along.
Yeah, let's do this one more time. Ready?
So I've already had some ifs. I'm on.
Well, I'll do it again for everyone, for other people too. Ready? So I'm just going to delete my cell B3 on View Monthly. Equals. Everyone ready with equals? Sum ifs. SUMIFS. Equals sum ifs. Open parentheses now pops this up. And that's when I go to the other sheet to grab the column. And then I start clicking around, arrowing around, whatever you want to do. H2, Shift, Command, arrow down once to get to the last row of data, arrow down again to get to the last row of the spreadsheet. Anyone not with,
Command down gets me to the bottom, and then again.
to get to the last row of the spread? So the first Shift, Command, arrow down. So you always hold Shift, Command. Shift selects, Command gets you to the last row of a series. So in this case, when you press arrow down, it'll take the last row of the data. When you press it again, it takes you to the last row of the spreadsheet. So yours should look like mine now. H2 to H2579, or maybe your last row is different, but it should look like that. Emily, what are you doing wrong?
I do shift command.
Shift Command. You're in cell H3 or H2.
To hold them down.
And then
So let's do the right at the top of that. Hold down shift and paragraph, start shift. Let's make that, keep holding that shift. That goes down. Got it.
Okay, so when you do it, to be clear, it's you go to the cell H2, hold Shift, hold Command, don't let go. I'm holding Shift Command right now. I'm pressing arrow down, I'm not letting go. Actually, I could let go now and that selection is selected. If I want to do more selections, I grab Shift Command again, I press arrow down again, and again I can let go, right? Now I'm ready for the next one. I'm going to press comma. I'm going to go grab the other part that I want.
Which is an F.
So I want F, so I go to F2, and I do the same thing again. Shift Command, hold Shift Command, arrow down, still holding Shift Command, arrow down again.
you might have how to get to the top of the dock.
Yeah, just so Command just takes you to the edges of things.
Okay.
So if you hold Command and you press arrows, if you press in this case arrow up twice, you'll end up at the top of the document. If you press arrow right, you'll end up at the far right side of the document. Command will take you to the edge of either your data set or the edge of the spreadsheet. So it's wherever the pattern changes. If you're holding Command and you press arrow a certain direction and you have data in the cells, it'll take you to the next cell, or the last cell with data, or the last cell without data if you're in a dataless section. Everyone on board?
Sometimes when I go to grab a range, it just stops when I go to move down. Is there any particular reason that happens? Like I'll be in the equation to go do it, and I press shift, command down, and nothing happens. It's happened on my computer. But it's noise created.
Shift Command down.
I'm on brew date 1120, and I'm hitting shift command down, and nothing's happening.
You're on brew date 1120. So you're in this cell. Does your screen look like mine right now? I see F2.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen to me.
And then hit shift command down, and it doesn't go down.
Shift Command down. Yep. So that's, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why it would not be moving. It may be a setting in some people's computers that you can't use arrows after that.
I have it on mine too.
Okay, so I'll have to look into the setting if that's I've never seen that before where the setting does not work. So If you're following along at home, if your arrow keys stop working with the second one, which I've never seen, it's something to keep in mind that it may just not be working. So for those people, just to keep it going, here's another way to do it. Ready? So if I'm in my formula up top, ready? I'm going to copy this whole thing. Command C, Command V to write afterwards. And I'm going to change the H to an F. And you can do this with your mouse too, but this is an interesting way to really understand the formula from a different angle.
Just the master part of it,
The whole thing, end to end.
including the sum if?
Nope, but this,
Right.
the whole colored part right here, from open parentheses to 9. Up, not the gray stuff here, not the gray-black stuff, not the gray-black comma.
And I changed to database.
You shouldn't have to change anything except the letter of the column.
You are correct.
And so now, it just helps you understand the formula. The computer is just seeing these text. You can type it with hand. You can highlight it with your mouse. You can highlight it with the cursor and the arrows. Now I'm going to finish the last part, which again is the criteria. So you could just do an absolute greater than 20, but we're going to do something a little more complicated with the variable. So I'm going to open quote, greater than, close quote, because I want to do a greater than. Ampersand links things together, concatenates. It will attach two things. In this case, I need to attach the greater than sign, not to a number, but to a cell. And then I'll go back to View Monthly, and I'll click on the cell I want to be greater than, which is A2. And I'll just press Enter.
It worked. Do I want it to have a dollar sign? I want it to be money. So
Right, so you can write, you can always just go to the top and click on currency if you want to format the cell now. And we're going to add one more thing now. Everyone,
Can you just do that one last step? So if I'm I did the quote.
so if you see right here the criteria, it's open quote, greater than, close quote, ampersand, and then you can just type A2, but you can also click on go back to the View Monthly sheet and click on cell A2. Either way, you should see your formula looking like this by the end, which is ampersand A2.
And then hit enter.
And then press enter.
Boom.
And then if you want to, you can format it with currency by clicking the dollar sign, and you should have that number right there. So now we're going to add one more thing. We're going to make this one step more complicated. Ready? I'm going to go back to the cell. I'm going to click enter, and I'm back in the formula. So once you have it, you can still edit it very nicely. I'm going to go back inside the parentheses, and you'll see my cheat sheet comes up again. So this is the same as if we had never left it, but right now we're going to go back in and we're going to add the other part.
Sorry.
So if you go to the cell, if you're on cell B3 and you press enter, does that not happen for anyone? Does the formula not come up for anyone?
how do you get to have Jared's custom scripts?
You have to be really special for Jared's custom scripts. If you want there's a question about Jared's custom scripts. That is really a special treat. That's actually in this class. We will get to that in the next session or two. But I'll show you some very simple stuff. There are ways to record macros, so you don't have to write code. But some of this is a little advanced for some of us.
Is this writing first?
No, this is not coding right now.
Did you like my question? Did it make you feel a little concerned about me?
We have someone in class who's asking some weird questions right now, and we have someone else who's helping someone, so we're just taking a second. They don't realize we have a hot mic here.
We have a hot what?
Hot mic. Okay. Our TA is helping one person. Tell me if you need to help out over there. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going for a second, but tell me if this is not working over there. So I'm in my cell. I'm in B3. I'm pressing enter. I see my formula activates. Okay? I'm going to go inside the parentheses. So you can press arrow left. You can click in there, but I'm going to be right there in the formula. Right there or right there, wherever you want to do it.
I want to do it there.
No, I should put it down.
This is a little TA.
We have a great TA in class. Charity, are you good?
Right now.
Okay. Okay, so I'm in my formula again. I'm behind the A2. I'm going to add another criteria. So you can see right now it's highlighting this one because that's the one I'm in. So I'm just going to comma to go to the next one. So I'm going to add another criteria to this. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. So we could just copy this whole thing over, or we can go to the other sheet.
Let's go to the other sheet.
Let's go to the other sheet.
We have a request for the other sheet, although I'm not sure the arrows will work for people, but either way, I'm going to click on the other sheet again. And you'll see it knows where I am, right? It's looking for what I'm about to do. I'm going to click again on brew date F2. And it knows, it inputs this whole text for me. It inputs master table, database, name of the sheet, cell F2. And now I can either mouse all the way down. You see how the range changes as I mouse down? So I can mouse all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Or I can hold Shift Command, arrow down once, arrow down twice.
I'm just gonna type it in because mine won't let me.
Did that work for everyone? Or does everyone have another way to do it? Charity, what is happening when you do this?
Nothing on the master table. Like when I go back to that, it doesn't populate.
Did you go inside the parentheses?
Inside the parentheses, and then yeah.
Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna run over there. Time out in the video.
I can't wait to watch these videos.
This video is not going to be super high quality, it's okay. So,
I'd love to
can you press
experience
comma?
the ideas having lived in this room.
Oh, why? Why is that so hard?
Okay, we're back. We're back. Someone left out a comma, which happens. The point with computers is every single item matters, right? Commas matter, semicolons matter, the quotes matter, double quotes matter. There's no such thing as being off by a little bit in the computer understanding. Yes, we have a question.
How are you supposed to know when to put a comma or like I don't understand?
So in this case, you should be using when you're using formulas in spreadsheets, commas separate everything. So if you're going to insert a part of the formula, whether it's a cell or an absolute or a value or whatever, when you go on to the next thing, the computer has to know somehow you move it to the next thing. And when you look at the cheating thing, you'll see in there the syntax, right? You'll see sum ifs, open parentheses, A1 to A10, comma, B1 to B10, comma, greater than 20, comma. So you're always going to have to separate things with a comma, but if you look at the formula, you should be able to follow that. Even if the instructions aren't perfect, the syntax is a good example, right? A1 to A10, B1 to B10, comma, 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 where they belong. So just something to keep in mind. So now we are at, so I'm going to do this and get to the bottom. Oh, I broke it. So I broke mine. I'm just going to go back quickly and catch up to where everyone else is. And sometimes this blocks the screen, which is really terrific. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to do it again quickly. So I've got my comma there. I'm back in that spot. I'm going to go back to the other sheet. I'm going to grab my F2 to the bottom. Oh, my arrows aren't working out either. It must not know. Oh, it's because my formula's broken. I wonder if that was why the other one wasn't working too. F2. Yeah, so it may have been a formatting thing that was why it wasn't working before, but it may have been a formula problem actually. So I'll look at that in a second. But anyway, F2 to the bottom, arrow down, down, comma, open parentheses. We're going to do a different formula this time. Open parentheses, less than or equals to, close parentheses. Last time was greater than. This time is less than or equal to, because this time it's the last day of the month. Quotes, I keep saying parentheses, sorry, quotes. Open quotes, less than symbol, equals symbol, close quotes. And then again, we're going to connect it, so I'm going to type ampersand. I'm going to go to my view monthly, and this time I'm going to either type A3 or click on A3 and press enter. And so now it's giving me just January, because now it's saying, give me everything more than A2 and everything less than or equal to A3. The one thing I'm missing, who knows what I'm missing?
How do you get it to be the same going down?
How do you get it to be the same going down? That is what I'm missing, right? So
Continuation,
if I-
it doesn't just stick with January the whole time.
if I copied it down right now, see the references are changing, right? H2 became H3, H2579 became H2580. So the question is, which ones do I want to change and which ones don't? I want to change the dates, right? Because when I go down a cell, I want to do February, so I need to be between these two dates. So that one should change. A3 and A2 should change, so those are fine. The other ones I would want not to change, so those need dollar signs before and after, before the H, before the 2, before the H, before the 2579. And I'll do this slower in 1 second.
So first you drag.
So I'm going to delete the rest of the stuff. So I'm back on B3. I press enter. I have access to my formula down here. So these ranges, the ranges I'm summing and the ranges I'm testing, I do not want to change.
The ranges you're summing and the ranges you're.
So H2 should be $H $2. H and end of sheet, whether it's 2579 for you or not, should be $H $end of sheet. Same for the F's and the numbers here. Same for the F's and the numbers here too.
Where did that exclamation point come from? Oops, how come we didn't have to put it in ourselves?
So there's a question about the exclamation point. Google Sheets knows when you select something, it knows the syntax of this. So it's just grabbing, when you go to another sheet, it grabs the sheet name, it puts it in quotes, it puts an exclamation point after the sheet name, and then it puts in the range. So it just knows. If you were hand typing this in, you would need to type sheet name in quotes, exclamation point, range, start, colon, range, end. So that's why highlighting is so much easier with the mouse.
Okay, so when you're putting the dollar signs in, it's to do what?
Does everyone have the dollar signs in? Okay, so the dollar, and then you can press enter if you want. So what is the dollar sign doing? Ready? So now I'm going to drag this formula down. You'll see what happens. So I'm in cell B3. I'm going to go to cell A3 for a second, command arrow down. I'm going to go to cell B14 because I'm going to select the range I want. Now I'm going to hold from B14. I'm holding command shift again, arrow up. And now I have the section I want to fill to, and then I do command D to fill down.
We're going to have to do that again.
So this is a shortcut. You do not need to do it this way. But if you want to, go to A1. Everyone go to A1 and hold command arrow down. And you end up in A15. And this is only 12 rows, so this is easy. If this were 1,000 rows, this would be really nice.
And then you went
Then you just arrow up, arrow right to get to B14.
but wait, are we still holding command shift down?
You should let go of everything and just arrow up, arrow right because you don't want anything selected at this point. Now you want to select again. Everyone should be in cell B14 right now.
But what did I do once I command and arrow down? What did I do with that? Nothing?
Everyone should be in B14 right now. Okay, is everyone in cell B14? Then you hold command shift arrow up. Now you're on the range you want to select and drag down to. So I've obviously did it already, but if I go back. So what I want to do is I want to fill cell B3 down to B14. That's what I'm trying to do.
Three?
But you can also drag it, correct?
You can always grab with your mouse. And this is only a 15-row sheet. When the sheets are thousands, it changes. For now, you could easily drag with the mouse.
Why is my amount of money in the wrong? Why is
Those are
mine
different too.
I'm in B2 with that.
No one should be in B2. So one thing to fix that, if you put the wrong formula, put the formula in B2 that belongs to B3. There are two ways to do that. One way to copy a formula and have it not change. Go to the cell you want to copy. If I'm in here, press Command A to grab the whole text. So we're copying the text, right, not the formula.
Can you click anywhere on there to get to Command A, or do you have to be like at one end or the other?
You can be anywhere. Command A is to select all. So just click on the cell to be in the cell. You can either do it down here, where you press Enter to be in the cell in Command A, or you can click on up here and click on Command A up there.
And then what are you doing, cutting and pasting?
Then you press Copy, Command C, and then you go to the cell you want it to be in, which is B3, and yours will be delete, yours will be blank, right? Click into the cell before you paste. So press Enter and have your cursor in the cell first, because you're pasting text, and then press Command V to paste it. Does anyone not have 3411737 in cell B3?
I have 32,154.
When you're in cell B3, are your formulas H2 to H2579?
Yes,
And then F2 to F2579?
correct.
And is it A2
Yeah, greater than A2.
less than or equal to A3?
I don't have less than or equal to.
Okay, so it should be less than equal to. That should be the symbols. Less than equal to.
Inside the quotes.
In the quotes.
A, fix it.
Okay, so now what I want to do, I want to fill B3 down to B14. So to get there fast, I'm just going to use the command arrow stuff. So command arrow, so hold command. Arrow left, arrow down, and I'm shooting to there. Again, this doesn't matter if you're in a small spreadsheet, but as you work with more data, this is really valuable. So again, I'm in B3, I'm holding command. Arrow left, arrow down. And then I let go of everything. So if this were 1,000 rows, I'd be in the last row right now. I then just let go of everything. I press arrow right and up just to get to the cell I want to fill to. Now I'm going to select the range I want to fill. It's shift command, arrow up, and I've got my range. And you can let go again. Shift command, arrow up. Hold shift and command, arrow up. Now I've got what I want to fill. So now it knows that if I press command down, it's going to fill B3 to the bottom. So command D fills it all. Command D.
Not the arrow, the actual letter.
And so what did those dollar signs do? So now if I look at cell B3 and B4. B3, H2 to H2579. B4 is also H2 to H2579, right? The summing range did not change. Neither did the criteria range. What changed is the date cells. So if you look at A2 here and I go arrow down, next one's A3, A4, A5, A6. Same with the last one. It was A7, A8, A9, A10. Because we want those changing because this cell should use this date range, this cell should use this date range, but the cells should all be summing from the same range, testing against the same date range. Does that make sense? Okay, we did it, we've done it. So I'm going to quickly insert a fun, simple one here, equals sum. In fact, you know what, I'm going to show you. Try to do this on your own. Insert the sum of the column in cell B15. You can watch my screen if you want to, but I'm going to do it right there myself. I'm going to make it bold because I like bold. But this should be doable at this point. Hashtag doable, as we like to say around here. Everyone got that? Yeah. Okay, we're learning. We're getting there, people. So we go back to view monthly. We're going to do this in a pretty simple way right now. Ready? So you see the difference between these two formulas is really, I'll answer in a second, but it's just the name of the function. Sum ifs versus average ifs. Okay? Nothing else changes in this formula between the two columns. One thing I am going to do, did you have a question, Charity? Okay, one thing I'm going to do, so in B3, I'm just going to update this formula to make it a little bit easier as we copy it to the right. So for the A2, I want the 2 to change. I want it to go down. I don't want actually the A to change. It happens to not matter when we copy down. When we copy right, it will matter. So before each of the A's in the formula, I'm going to put a dollar sign, but not before the number, just before the A. And you'll see why that's important in a minute. But all I did in cell B3 is put a dollar sign before the A for each of the days. Everyone see that? Before A2, I put a dollar sign. And before A3, I put a dollar sign. So that means that's making the column reference absolute, but not the row reference. Right? So now when I drag this, and I'm going to do another command down like I did before, which maybe people can do on their own or drag the mouse down, you'll see now that dollar sign copies down. The letter wouldn't have changed anyway, so it doesn't matter, but you'll see why that's important, as I said in a second. But the dollar sign now is always before the A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, and so on.
Sorry, why? That's not working for me there. What's the command? Where did you go command down from?
So what I would do in this case for now, just to keep the class moving a bit, is just copy, just do that. Everyone see that? So in cell B3, it's dollar sign A2, dollar sign A3.
No, wait.
Everyone see that? Dollar sign A2, dollar sign A3, but not dollar sign before the numbers. And then again, just to keep it moving a bit, you just can drag that down and it'll go to the bottom. Good? So, yeah, this looks good. So then you just drag it down.
It doesn't populate the dollar sign.
So the dollar sign is about cell reference, not formatting.
Oh, hey.
So the dollar sign changes the format of this, changes the reference of the cell. So now it'll work better. Okay. We're going to try to finish the next column before the end. So this actually this is going to bring together a bunch of the concepts you now have, right? You understand how these formulas work. What happens if I drag this right? Let's all do this together, right? B3, highlight B3 and C3. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to go to B3. I'm going to hold Shift and just press arrow right, and I'm going to let go. Right now I have highlighted B3 and C3. Okay? Now I'm going to press Command R to fill right. We had fill down, now we have fill right. What does this do? It's the exact same thing because of the absolute references, right? It's still summing the same columns. It's still using the same criteria. We have dollar sign for A. So that worked because it's still A. Had that not been a dollar sign, that would have changed. But every single column reference is absolute, so nothing changed. Right? So yours should look the same as mine. It should be the same formula.
How come you can see the formula in your thing?
If your formula's crushed, you can go to this bottom row and make it lower if you want to make it lower. Okay. Everyone where I am?
Wait, you say Command R?
Yep, Command R to fill right. If you highlight those two cells, oops.
Okay. Highlight with Shift or just?
Yep, so hold Shift in B3. So I have B3 and C3 highlighted.
Okay.
And then Command R. Not Control R, Command R. Okay, I've read mines as usual.
No, I was pressing Command R.
Yeah, you are. I don't do that.
It seems pretty self-explanatory.
Is it working over there or no?
R.
Is it working or no?
Copy paste.
Let me look at it for a second. It's good to know all the things that don't work. That's refreshing. You're in Safari, which is a fundamental error in all internet usage.
You told me that, and
So
I stand strong just because I don't.
one member of the course had made a fundamental tech problem is using the wrong browser.
I don't want them to push me around.
So
Push me into Google.
Command R works definitely in Chrome. It may work in other browsers, but not everything. So just to keep in mind, you see, when you press Command R, it'll fill right. In some cases, you'll see the browser menu way up top, which you can't see on my screen, but way up top, you may see things highlighting, which means it's talking to the browser and not the browser window, if that makes sense. You're talking to you want to get this menu. When you do Command R, you want to get the fill right, the insert, the view, all those things. Some shortcuts the browser will grab before it gets to the browser window, the web page you're on. So it's a little complicated, but when you're using a browser, what's ultimately in control of the software is the browser itself. So what's in control of what I'm doing right now is Chrome browser, not Google Sheets. If you're in Safari browser, what's in control of the browser is Safari browser, not Google Sheets. So Safari or Chrome, when you press a shortcut, it can grab that shortcut and do whatever it wants with it when you press Command R. In some cases, the browser will let that go straight through to the website. So in this case, when using Chrome, Chrome does not use Command R for the browser, so it actually reaches this web page that I'm on. In Safari uses Command R, so it captures Command R, it does things with it, it never passes it to this website. A little more complicated, so I'm not going to go too much deeper right now, but that's what was happening with one person. So that may happen if you're in Safari. If you're not in Safari, your screen will look like this. So what I'm going to do quickly now, just to finish it up, is I'm just going to go into the cell, I'm going to go into my formula. So all I want to do is instead of total revenue, I want average revenue. So I'm going to go in my formula. I'm just going to change the word sum at the beginning of the formula. I'm going to delete those letters and type average. And that's it. And that's going to change the formula. I'm going to press enter twice to the average. So everything else is the same. You'll see it's all the same inputs. Now instead of the sum range, it's the average range. The dates, the criteria date, the dates, the criteria date, and that's it. You have your average now. And now again, you can copy it down if you want, and you'll get the average of every row. In this case, there's no point in totaling. You're taking monthly averages, so actually this would be it'd be a weird thing to do. So I'm just going to I'm going to type a dash there just so I remember. But summing that would be a nonsensical piece of data.
So you just copied this one.
Yeah, so all I do is then fill down, copy and paste down. So you can do the Command D, you can do Command C in the first cell, and then Command V over all those cells. Any of those things. If I hadn't had the $ here, and I'd had it be just A2 and A3, and then I did Command R, it would not have worked, right? Because now, while this is referencing the date column, this one is referencing the column before. Because now when I move left to right, it goes from A2 and A3 to B2 and B3, which I didn't want. So that's why the $ are there. But again, I want it to change as I go down, so I don't have the $ in front of the number. I just have the $ in front of the letter, in front of the column and not the row. Okay, that was a lot, I think, for the day. Any questions, thoughts? Okay. I think we're going to be done then, unless there's more stuff to cover. I think people should feel free to try to work on some of this at home, but I think that's the basics for the day. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending.